Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classics and Non-Classics. This is episode number 3527, double number 3421. We're here discussing for Wonder Woman. Yeah, she's Wonder Woman issues 223 to 243, along with Adventure Comics, kind of in a way with this one, where I'm starting from 431 and stopping at 458. Though there will be some skipping here because basically I've discussed some of these issues previously already. So Wonder Woman was this. Basically where she fights this mysterious guy in the opening issue, but Martin Perio does basically up until 232. There's a reason for that. Because Jerry Conway takes over issue 233. So, finds out Steve Trevor basically is alive and well under this disguise, and then pretty much Steve tries to reestablish himself. It's kind of like with these issues, it's kind of like we're trying to go back to the status quo before. The whole thing of like the Diana being, well, and then of course she's fighting against the United States. Well, yeah, it just peters along for a little while. By the way, 525 has an issue with Wonder Woman's top of the World Trade Center. Oh yeah, and also Steve Trevor, because of course they couldn't exactly call himself. For some reason, she questions like, why are you calling himself Steve Howard? Yeah, he's calling himself Steve Howard instead of Steve Trevor, because Steve Trevor is long dead. So, go by Steve Howard. And pretty much basically they deal with just some domestic threats, like deal with a tycoon. In issue 226, deals with Ares, yes, Ares, and a rogue Hephaestus. Yeah, and this lasts for several issues. And then 228, she fights basically her Earth 2 counterpart. Yep. This is the first time that chronologically these two. Mm-hmm. And they're here for a couple issues. And simply put, this standalone issue here was to set up basically Jerry Conway's run. Also, there's this weird moment where Eda Candy comes to the shower and there's a guy in basically the apartment that she and Diana shares. And she's embarrassed because, of course, a guy is there. And then we have debut this guy called General Blanksmith. Yeah, he is around for a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's an adaptation of a character from the Wonder Woman TV show. Yep. And pretty much basically we're in Earth 2 stories for Wonder Woman. Yep. Earth 1 basically taking a break for several issues where... Yeah, then of course in 230 basically she fights Cheetah. Well, the Priscilla Rich version anyways, the original one. Yeah, she's back. And... then, for some weird reason, Alan Barnett does an issue. And we have this woman named Osira. This goddess woman. And she's only around for a couple issues, 231, 232. And what it was planned for her was dropped because Jerry Conway takes over the book. With 233. Yep, with 233. Yep. And we're still in Earth 2 stuff. And book becomes really good to the Jerry Conway. Fighting against some Germans a lot of the time. Steve Trevor apparently dies in 234. And this is, of course, the Earth 2 version of him. And... then she has team-ups throughout the remainder of these issues with various members of the JSA. Yep, works basically with the JSA first, Dr. Midnight. I think one of she ends up with J. Garrett Flash. Also, the main villain of these issues is a guy by the name of Armageddon, who's a Nazi villain. Yeah, and he's only around from 234. He basically ups up story with 236. And then, of course, 237 basically... well, they bring back the Earth 2, the original Earth 2 Diana Prince here. which who had not been seen in comics at that point for years. Like, she only made her debut in Essential Comics #1, returned in issue 9, and then she made a brief return in 217. Well, basically it was a reprint issue. But she did come back fully for this quick two-parter, and that was the last anybody saw of her. Yeah, the character was just brought back because why not? It's like basically Jared Conn was remaking the Golden Age stories, but a little more seriously. That's kind of what basically I'd say here. And we also have Sam pop up in 238. Though Sam in these issues is wearing actually his Jack Kirby design costume, not the classic costume that with the gas mask and the gas gun. No, we have to go with Jack Kirby's costume here. And 239, she teams up with Jay Garrick the Flash. In 240, teams up with Steve Jay Garrick, which is wanted dead or alive. And then, of course, they kill off two characters in 241. A character called Bouncer. He's only here for this one issue. And Sumo the Samurai, who's the character debuting all new collector's edition C54. Yeah, he was a character who primarily appeared in other books, but this is his sole appearance in the pages of Wonder Woman. And by 242, basically, Jared Conway, by 240, Jared Conway officially wraps up his book. But he does come back later. And of course, I mentioned that all the old school Holiday Girls. Yep. And basically, by 242, they wrap up the World War II stuff here. And then by 243, they kind of go back to 221, 228, basically. Yeah, it's like... Yeah, the book is basically handed back over to the Earth Wonder Woman, first time since 232, and she's done for a while, to 300. Really good issues. I give these issues roughly a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. As in the case of the... Venture Comics issues. Mostly put basically... For some of these issues, discuss mostly the backup story, and some discusses the opening story. But for 431, 433, no need to discuss the opening story already because I've discussed that in the Showcase Business Spectre trade. The backup story in issue 431 is just a story involving aliens. 432 and 433 is basically a two-part feature featuring Captain Fear, who's back here for a couple issues, and then we skip straight to 439. Yep, where Green Arrow pops up here for an issue. Yep. Yeah, this starts basically the 7 Points of Victory feature, which lasted for a little bit of a period of time. Yes. Starts in 438 and wraps up with 443. Like the first, basically it's various members of the 7 Points of Victory team for its stories. For issue 439, it's Green Arrow and Speedy. For 440, it's the Crimson Avenger. For 441, it's basically the original Star Spangled Kid. 442 is basically Vigilante. And then we wrap up with 443 with them coming together to fight off against a villain. Why, sir? And skipping over 444. By the way, in case you're curious, the issues themselves were really good. Let's skip 4440 because this got the issues already. So skipping straight to 4. Oh no! Don't do this to me, please. 445. Yeah, where the Creeper comes in. Yep, the Creeper. And Marin Paradiso basically was writing here. Basically, a lot of this just investigating, like, he fights like a mannequin in 445 and 446. Yeah, he does fight a mannequin for these few issues here. And by 448, they kind of take a break from the Becca feature because we got to focus on Aquaman for a few issues. Yeah, and then the features themselves resume with 453. Yeah, after like a few issues just Aquaman stuff. And then basically 453, Aquaman gets demoted to be a Becca feature, and he gets replaced by Superboy as the lead feature of the book. Superboy by Bob Briskins basically has teamed up with Barbara Gordon. Yes. Yeah. And pretty much basically, this is just Superboy back in the present, just doing his own thing. This comes like right after they basically wrote him off in the final issue of Superboy and Legion of Superheroes. Basically, he's back here for a very brief period of time, and then he gets his own solo book again. Five against the Kryptonite Kid. And fights Lex Luthor once again. And then we skip to 456, which this is a Superboy issue. Damage Lee does the writing here, and it was Thoughtful Explorers. And then we have a mini epic with basically with Eclipso, which lasts for 2 issues. Which basically has a fight, takes on a guy named Lawrence Wallace. Yeah, it's just an argument to basically separate stuff. And we have basically Eclipso back here. It's basically the whole thing of like, oh, we got remerge basically Eclipso and Bruce Gordon. Written by Lee, art by Joe Orlando. And then where 458 is like, oh, possibly got Phantom Zone, but don't worry, it doesn't go there. And then pretty much they wrap up basically the whole thing here at 458. And I decided to stop right there because 459 becomes not a 2 feature book, but a 5 feature book. And the book basically increased that point to $1 for about 8 issues. I'll discuss another time. But yeah, a pretty good set of issues here. I would say I enjoyed the 700 Victory stories, and I enjoyed the Superboy stuff here. I thought those were really good. Eclipse was pretty decent for what it was. I would say the weakest stories of all these ones is probably the Captain Fear. Nothing against Captain Fear. Like, one of them is to follow up to another story where a woman basically rejects him, where he rejected one woman and basically comes back to bite him. Yeah. But that's pretty much it to discuss here. So that's pretty much that particular video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up we have is, well, more Sentai. Okay, next video. Bye.